Leading off the show, Tuesday, November 8th. Whoa. Aren't you glad it's here? It's near, almost over. It's Election Day. And in addition to the presidential race, we have a number of local elections. And joining us for a look at the races and the polls, well, we welcome the importance of this young man who's always out in the community with his sleeves rolled up, Assemblyman Michael Blake from the 79th Assembly District. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Man, we are pushing, doing everything we possibly can to help Secretary Clinton get elected and help Patrick Murphy become the next United States Senator and up and down the ballot. And I'll be back in New York around midnight tonight so that we can bring this home across New York State tomorrow in an absolutely critical election.
How does it look out there? Is it promising?
We're feeling good. Look, you look at these battleground states, Bob, and everyone, when you see what's going on across the country. Florida has had historic turnouts for early voting. Initial projections had African-American turnout up 32%, Asian-American turnout up 90%. But the Latino vote turnout for early voting has been absolutely off the charts in Florida, up 120% at a minimum from 4 years ago. People are ready. They're excited. They stood in lines. We did an event yesterday. We had Tyrese, Regina Hall, Kasim Reed. You would have thought it was a new hip-hop band, but no, we were just out here to make the votes happen.
Yeah, you're bringing out the big guns, huh?
And, the lines were there for hours all over the place. No, there was something fascinating that's been happening in Florida, in North Carolina, in Nevada. The early voting numbers have been absolutely historic, and Democrats have taken the lead over Republicans in Florida in early voting. Same kind of projection in North Carolina. Look at Georgia. The fact that Georgia is a one-point race is remarkable. So we're feeling really good.
Yeah.
Now this is all about, GOTV, get out the vote, and making sure people actually go through the finish line. But for the people in New York, it's important for everyone to understand that, there's ways for you to still volunteer and get involved, whether it be making phone calls or going to Pennsylvania, which is not too far away, and knocking on doors. But then also you have critical New York State Senate races that are happening tomorrow, that the decision of what happens in those races is going to impact everything we've been talking about for the last year, Bob, from raise the age, education, housing reform, all these different pieces. So we can't underscore enough that while we feel very confident Secretary Clinton is going to be elected tomorrow night, but it's also about making sure down-ballot races have the voting turnout they need as well. Yeah,
I know a lot. I spoke to a number of people, and you got a lot of people that are ready. They're happy that it's here. They want to put it behind them. They want to get out there and exercise their right to vote. But there are a lot of people who are frustrated. What do you tell those people who say, hey, I'm fed up with this whole thing. I'm staying home?
Well, let me a few different things. One, myself included, all of us that are state assembly members and state senators in New York, we're on the ballot tomorrow also. So, again, please make sure to vote up and down the ballot. And when someone is saying, why should we vote? One, people died for us to have this right, and we have to make sure we keep that in the context. I saw an image yesterday that really resonated with me and actually got a little emotional just watching it, that there were young women putting I voted stickers on the grave of Susan B. Anthony.
Wow.
To say that she never had the chance to vote, and think about what this would mean for those that have come before us to create this space. I had a chance last week, Bob, to march with Congressman John Lewis in Charlotte from MLK Park to an early voting site. People were emotional going through that and experience. So for everyone that's listening, that's watching, we need for you to vote, because there is not anything that happens in your life that is not impacted by some form of public policy.
Yeah.
When we're talking about criminal justice reform, when we're talking about housing, talking about education, talking about jobs for minority and women-owned businesses, all these different pieces we've been talking about for the last 2 years is impacted by people that you put in office.
Yeah.
And who is there? For those of us, especially that are in the Bronx, let the Khalif Browder example of a young man who was in solitary confinement for 2 years for allegedly stealing the book bag, who then took his life, and then his mother, who had a heart attack and passed away recently because she couldn't take the pain. That is happening. Raise the age has not changed because we still have Senate Republicans that have been blocking that in New York State.
Yeah.
So if you want to see changes in your life, you have to go vote. I understand folks are saying they're exhausted. They may not be feeling it, but you don't want to wake up the next day wondering what happened. And those of us that may remember, sometimes the young cats in high school and early in college don't realize this, but Bob, we understand this. Think about 2000, where we're talking about Gore versus Bush, and we were going into mid-December where the Supreme Court decided what our next presidency is going to be. That can't be the direction of our country.
Yeah, that was my next question.
On the sideline.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you feel in reference to the choosing of the Supreme Court justices? Let everybody know how that picture will look.
So I think, other than the decisions of what happens for our military, I do not know if there's anything more critical and more impactful for legacy that a president does than selecting Supreme Court justices. When you think about how a president can be here for a maximum of 8 years, but you can select someone that can be impacting your life for 30 to 40 years, that's critical. And so when we think about an election, it's about a contract, it's about choice. And for those of us, again, all of us Bronxites, when you have someone in Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton, who her first speech was around criminal justice reform and has been with the mothers of the movement and speaking about second chance reform and all that has to happen around criminal justice, but yet Donald Trump is saying that stop and frisk should be a national policy. We got to understand, are these the people and someone in Donald Trump and their team that you actually want to have to give the power for Supreme Court justice decisions? When you think about how he's saying that a judge is not able to perform their duty because of their Latino heritage, that's not someone that I want to have in that office. Versus Secretary Clinton and her legal background and Children's Defense Fund on down. This is what's at stake, everybody. The 20 million people that have health care in this country right now because of the Affordable Care Act, I don't want us to go backwards and have a Supreme Court that's going to try to reject that. For the women that are watching and listening, Roe v. Wade, and the impact as it relates to choice, we don't want to go backwards. For the African American community, when you think about what's happening for voting rights, we can't go backwards. For the Latino community and the Caribbean community, when we talk about DREAM Act and immigration reform, we cannot go backwards. That's what's at stake in this election, and that's why we have to be a part of the process. And that's why it's not just about electing a president, but electing United States Senate and congressional members who also will care and fight for you. The fact that the Senate won't take up a vote on Merrick Garland is absolutely reprehensible. The fact there are too many in Congress that are sitting in the sidelines, especially the congressional Republicans, that will not reject the misogynistic, racist, discriminatory language that Trump has been articulating. This is what's at stake with this election right now. So for everyone that's listening and watching, we're asking you, we're imploring you that no matter what is going on tomorrow, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. in New York, you can vote. There's no reason not to be a part of this process. We need you a part of this process. It's a very easy way. If you're trying to figure out where to vote, 866-VOTE-NYC, 866-VOTE-NYC, or you can go to iwillvote.com, iwillvote.com, and it will show you exactly where you have to go. Too much is at stake with this election. I'll say this last piece here before the next question, Bob.
Okay.
As you know, I had the honor of working for President Obama for 7 years. He trained me when I was a young kid in 2006, one of 10 people in that training program. And I really do feel this to my core. No matter what I felt about the policies of Senator McCain and Governor Romney, I never felt that I would be concerned about the direction of the country if they were elected. I am genuinely scared of where we go as a country if Donald Trump is elected, given things that he has said and what he has done. And I think that's a very clear difference, that people are of a mindset right now that genuine fear of what would happen given the things that he's articulating. And that cannot be a presidency that we have here. And for the folks that are saying, well, I don't feel as excited about Hillary Clinton as I did Barack Obama, her legacy shows me that this is someone that's going to fight for me. Look, in the Bronx, perfect example, Eagle Academy, the top school in New York for graduating Black and Latino young men in New York. Mm-hmm. That happened because when she was a senator, she pushed to have an all-boys public school created for these young men. We got to understand what's at stake right now, everybody, and that's why we have to be a part of the process, and we have to vote up and down the ballot. All
right. Are you on your way back to the Bronx?
I will be back up tonight. We'll be going all day tomorrow. Our office, 3114 3rd Avenue, that's our campaign office over at Victoria Italian Restaurant. We'll be making phone calls all day long. As they're also making phone calls at the Bronx Democratic County office at 1640 Eastchester Road. So we're asking people to get out and vote and be a part of this. Volunteering, if you can, get on the buses that are going down to Philadelphia to help out. And then tomorrow, all day long, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., Election Day in New York. And we'll be in the Bronx all day long, pushing to help get a lot of these state Senate races John Brooks, Cronin, Tabor, Terry Gibson, and then tomorrow night, anyone that's in the Bronx tomorrow night, come and celebrate with us. We'll be celebrating up and down the ticket, starting at 9 o'clock, 3114 3rd Avenue in the Bronx, 159th Street and 3rd Ave.
There you go.
This is a kid critical day. Let's bring this home.
All right, and we'll probably meet up with you. We have something called the Roll to the Polls. And Tripp from the Steve Harvey Morning Show and myself will be going around to different polling sites with the WBLS crew. We have the Hot 97 WBLS and WLIB crew, and perhaps we can meet up and we can get a couple of comments from you.
Let's make it happen. We'll definitely, at a minimum, be over by Concourse Village, one of the most critical voting places in our community in South Bronx. Many different sites. We'll be voting. I'll probably voting myself around 10 a.m. But let's definitely connect.
You got it.
Everyone on this, and would love to come see you tomorrow, Bob. Let's do some press hits. But let me close by saying this very briefly. This is a story I've shared with some folks before. Photos come down at the White House every 7 to 10 days. There's one photo of a little young black boy named Jacob Philadelphia who has his hand stretched out, reaching to the president. He was asking a question to the president, and he had one question asked. He said, "Mr. President, I just got a new suit. I just got a haircut." And he stretched out his hands and said, "Mr. President, I'm wondering if I could touch your hair and know if it feels like mine." Tomorrow's election is the validation of what happened 8 years ago, where young men of color can now see someone that looks like them, and they think, I can be a president. And so for the young girls and young women of this country, if we do what we need to do, we're going to go to sleep tomorrow night, and young women are going to believe they can be anything they want to be because Secretary Clinton's going to be our president-elect.
There you go. Assemblyman Michael Blake from the district of the 79th District. Give him a big round of applause, everybody. Michael, we appreciate you. We know that you're always out there with the sleeves rolled up, always talking what we need to hear, doing the right thing. Thank you so much.
Always, brother. See you tomorrow.
And have a safe trip back. We'll see you when you get back. All right. Exercise your right to vote. It's important, and we'll be out there assisting you every step of the way. And now